Francisco Goya's The Burial of the Sardine. Even 200 years later, there's something strange about this painting. It looks like a festival, and yet your eyes are drawn elsewhere, to grotesque masks shaped like beasts and demons, trees looming like black smoke, and people dancing in a frenzy. At first, you might think the uneasiness comes from the strange mask, but the real issue isn't how they look, it's what they do to the people wearing them. They hide who you are, but they also turn you into just part of the crowd. So, what was Goya really trying to say, and why is this painting called The Burial of the Sardine, when there isn't a sardine anywhere in it? Before we get to that, one clue may be hiding in plain sight. The black flag. Its eerie, unsettling smile immediately grabs your attention, almost as if it's overseeing the entire scene. It turns out Goya didn't originally paint it this way. A sketch attributed to him shows the word MORTUS on the flag, Latin for death. Beneath it, figures who might be nuns or monks dance in a frenzy. At the time, Carnival was a thorn in the church's side, and Goya had already been called before the Inquisition twice. Once over Los Caprichos and once over the Naked Maya. A scene of clergy dancing like this would have been risky to leave in. In the end, that spot was replaced with dancing figures. What about the people around them? If you look closely at the crowd, there are hardly any ordinary faces. It's covered in all kinds of masks. Beasts, demons, and grotesque forms. Tucked away in one corner, creature crouches in black animal hide, its claws ready to strike. Right above him, a bullfighter with a lance lunges straight toward a woman lost in her own wild dance. And Goya's loose, wild brushwork makes the whole scene look even more unsettling. The more you look, the stranger it becomes. It's a lot to take in at first glance. Now let's step back and take in the full picture. The oval-shaped composition is very similar to the village bullfight, which Goya painted around the same time. In a bull ring, the crowd forms a circle around the action, and naturally pulling our eyes toward the center. Goya creates a similar effect here, and right in the middle, two women dressed in bright white stand out against the darkness. Once we get closer, another detail comes into focus. There's another mask on the back of both their heads. This wasn't the first time Goya used this idea. He'd used it before in Plate 2 of Los Caprichos. The masks hint that the face we see may not tell us who someone really is. Could the same be true here? A mask in front, another mask in back. Neither the face we see nor the one hidden from view is real. So, is there even a single person in this painting showing their true self? There might be one answer. This woman stands apart from the crowd. She quietly clasps her hands against her chest, her face frozen with anxiety and fear as she watches everything unfold. Perhaps she is the only one who has noticed the madness of this carnival. The moment their faces are covered, their individuality disappears. What remains was no longer a group of people, just a single mass. From a modern psychological perspective, we might call this deindividuation. Once a face becomes invisible, we're far more likely to do things we'd never normally do. Goya wasn't the only one. Across different eras and genres, others have explored the same side of human nature. The crowd in James Ensor's work is much the same, caught up in their own revelry and rousing chants. Christ stands at the center, yet no one recognizes him. In The Wicker Man, the islanders celebrate together, a joyful surface hiding a ritual no one is supposed to see. Now, let's come back to Goya's painting, and to something we've overlooked until now. There's a curious gap between the title and what we actually see. The title we've always known is The Burial of the Sardine, and yet there isn't a sardine anywhere in the painting. So, where did this title come from? In Spain, there was actually a tradition called the Burial of the Sardine. Just before Lent, people would mark the end of Carnival with a ritual, either burning a sardine figure or burying it in the ground. But it's not clear whether this painting accurately depicts that tradition. In fact, an inventory made after his death gives the painting a different name, a masked festival. The most likely explanation is this. At some point, a later owner of the painting, or perhaps art historians, linked it to the folk tradition and gave it that name. In the end, it wasn't a name Goya himself gave the painting. And that leaves us with one question. Why did he make this festive scene feel unsettling? Early in his career, this side of him is surprisingly hard to find. Back when he was designing royal tapestries, his work was full of bright colors, dancing, games, hunting. But then Goya suffered a serious illness and lost his hearing. Years later, war broke out, and Spain descended into social chaos. From this point on, his paintings took a darker turn. Madness, violence, and death began to make their way into his work. In the black paintings, that darker side of human nature would later surface unmasked. The Burial of the Sardine stands right at that boundary. For now, there's still color, still light. People are dancing and the sky is blue, but masks have already crept into the scene and traces of death are there too. It was a painting made on the threshold just before the bright Goya gave way to the darker Goya, a kind of prelude to what was to come. Goya once wrote in Los Caprichos, "The sleep of reason produces monsters." The Burial of the Sardine feels almost like that line brought to life, as if it captures the very moment reason is about to close its eyes. On the night before Lent, people put on masks to become someone else, at least for a while. On the surface, it's play, a chance to live as someone other than yourself. But perhaps what Goya wanted to show was what remains when faces and names disappear, a human being driven by nothing but impulse. And that's why this painting is truly unsettling. Not because of the strange faces, but because they feel familiar. On a night like this, behind the cover of anonymity, we too can become someone else, more often than we'd like to admit. Let's return to that flag one more time. Behind that eerie, grinning face was the word MORTUS. And even now, that death seems to quietly watch over the entire carnival. Reason is gone. Even our sense of individuality has dissolved. What's left are people surrendering entirely to instinct running wild. That smile, maybe it's death, quietly satisfied. Perhaps this painting was really asking something else. When we lose ourselves in a crowd, how far can a person change? And in the end, what is it that actually makes us who we are? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.